Our story starts in the Philippines, in the heart of Manila. The sun is blazing, people are rushing, jeepneys are honking, and among the crowd is a young street singer named Adrian. He isn't famous. He doesn't have money. He doesn't even have a stable home. His life is a combination of survival, music, and hope. Every morning he wakes up before the city fully comes alive, grabs his old acoustic guitar with worn-out strings, and walks miles to the busiest spots in town. He stands there with a small portable speaker, a cracked microphone, and the kind of voice that people turn their heads for even when they swear they're in too much of a hurry. Adrian grew up without much. His mother passed away when he was only 9, and his father, who worked in construction, often struggled to make ends meet. Music became his escape. He would listen to songs on his small, half-broken radio until the batteries died. He memorized melodies, imitated singers, and found comfort in harmonies. But the one song that meant the most to him was Breakeven by The Script. Something about the lyrics spoke directly to his soul, as though written about his own life. And unknowingly, that very song would become his golden ticket to a destiny he never expected. On an ordinary afternoon, while he was singing Breakeven on a Manila sidewalk, a foreign tourist stopped and recorded him. The tourist was mesmerized by the emotional depth of Adrian's voice, the way he hit every note with rawness and honesty, the way people around him slowed down just to listen. The video went viral a week later. It was shared, reposted, and re-uploaded across platforms. And that video eventually landed in the hands of an AGT scout. When Adrian received the email invitation, he didn't believe it at first. He thought it was a scam. But after a second email came, followed by a call, he realized it was real. The idea of performing in America felt like a dream that didn't belong to someone like him. He didn't have the money for a passport, let alone a flight. But the scout arranged everything. His papers, his ticket, and even his clothes. For the first time in his life, Adrian boarded a plane, clutching his guitar like it was the only soul he had. The moment he walked into the AGT auditorium, he froze. The lights, the stage, the giant logo shining across the room, he had never seen anything like it. His heart was pounding so hard he thought the mic would pick it up. Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Sofia Vergara, and Howie Mandel sat before him, waiting. The audience murmured, curious about the shy young man standing on stage with nothing but a guitar and quiet determination. Simon was the first to speak. He looked at the paper in front of him, glanced back at Adrian, and said in his usual tone that blends honesty with authority, "So, tell us who you are and why you're here." Adrian swallowed. "My name is Adrian, from the Philippines. I sing on the streets, and I'm here to follow a dream I never believed I could reach." Those words alone made the audience lean in. Simon looked intrigued but kept his expression neutral. "And what are you going to sing?" Adrian took a deep breath. "Breakeven. It's the song I've been singing for years." A faint gasp went through the crowd. The Script's Breakeven is not an easy song. It's emotional, raw, and demands perfect control. Simon raised an eyebrow. He leaned back in his seat. "All right, whenever you're ready." The room fell silent. Adrian strummed the first chord. His fingers trembled for only a second before settling into the rhythm. And then he sang. What came out of him did not sound like a street singer, or even a typical contestant. His voice had a heartbreaking purity to it, a tone shaped by years of struggle, and a depth that could only come from someone who had lived every lyric. The audience wasn't just hearing a song, they were feeling a story. When he reached the first high note, people in the crowd jumped, whispering to each other. You could hear someone say, "Oh my God." Another whispered, "Where has he been hiding?" Simon leaned forward, squinting slightly, trying to process what he was hearing. He had listened to thousands of singers across decades, but the tone of Adrian's voice, the pain, the control, the emotion, it wasn't normal. It wasn't surface talent. It was soul-speaking talent. Halfway through the performance, Heidi covered her mouth. Sophia blinked fast, fighting tears. Howie nodded slowly like he was witnessing something legendary. As the chorus hit, Adrian's voice soared. He didn't hold back. He didn't try to be perfect. He just let his heart speak. And the rawness of that moment created something unforgettable. The entire auditorium felt suspended in time. By the time he finished, nobody moved. The silence was so heavy it felt like the whole world had stopped breathing. Then the audience erupted, a full standing ovation. Cheers, whistles, applause, cheers. Sophia wiped her eyes. Heidi applauded like she'd just witnessed history. Howie pointed at him like he'd discovered a star. But Simon, he didn't stand. He stayed seated, staring at Adrian with a look no one could read. The audience fell quiet again, wondering what he was thinking. Simon finally spoke. "Adrian, I'm going to be very honest with you." A hush fell over the crowd. "That should not be possible." The crowd gasped. Simon continued, his voice softer now, more human. "You walked on this stage looking terrified, with a simple guitar, and then you opened your mouth and delivered one of the most sincere, emotional, and vocally powerful performances we've ever heard on this show. That wasn't just good. That was unbelievable." Adrian's knees nearly gave out. Heidi spoke next. "Your voice is beautiful. It feels like it comes from your soul." Sophia added, "You made us feel everything. Every lyric, every moment. You have a gift." Howie nodded. "You're what this show is all about. Talent that comes from nowhere and shocks the world." Adrian stood there, overwhelmed, tears forming in his eyes. He had never received this kind of praise in his life. He used to sing on sidewalks where people barely noticed him unless they were dropping coins. And now the world was cheering for him. Simon looked at his fellow judges, then back at Adrian. "You know," Simon said, placing his hands on the desk. "Sometimes, someone walks onto this stage and reminds us what true, pure talent looks like. You didn't need effects. You didn't need dancers. You didn't need anything except your voice." The crowd cheered again. Then Simon stood up. The cheering intensified. Adrian's heart started racing. Simon walked around the judge's desk, slowly, purposefully. The audience screamed. People already knew what was about to happen. Adrian shook his head, tears falling. Simon reached the golden buzzer. And then, he slammed his hand down. The explosion of golden confetti filled the auditorium instantly. The music blasted. The crowd's reaction was deafening. People jumped to their feet. Some cried. Some screamed. It was chaos in the best possible way. Adrian dropped to his knees, completely overwhelmed. He covered his face, sobbing into his hands. It wasn't just about winning. It wasn't just about a buzzer. It was the validation he never had. The dream he never believed he deserved. The life he never imagined he could reach. Simon walked up to him on stage and leaned down with a smile that held more emotion than usual. "You deserve this," he said. "The world needs to hear your voice." Adrian looked up at him, still shaking. Thank you so much." The confetti continued to rain down, shimmering like gold raindrops symbolizing a new beginning. Backstage, host Terry Crews hugged him so tight that Adrian laughed through his tears. "Man, you earned that. You were born for this." The AGT producers were in tears. Crew members clapped. Even the security guards smiled. Later, during his interview, Adrian said something that would go viral everywhere. "I spent years singing on the streets. I never thought my voice mattered. Today, I feel like I exist." Those words struck deep. They became a trending audio clip across social media. People around the world stitched videos of themselves singing or talking about their dreams to his voice. Thousands commented saying they felt inspired to follow their own passions. Back in the Philippines, news outlets picked up the story. His neighborhood celebrated him. His father watched the clip over and over again, crying. People who used to pass him by on the street now called him a national treasure. As the AGT competition continued, Adrian gained millions of fans. His social media exploded. Record labels contacted him. His performance of Breakeven reached tens of millions of views within days. Simon said in an interview, "Every once in a while, a singer reminds us why we created shows like AGT. Adrian is one of those rare voices that can move the world." And indeed, he did. But the best part, Adrian didn't forget where he came from. In every interview, he said, "I started on the streets, and I will always be grateful for every person who ever stopped to listen." His humility made people love him even more. Whether he wins AGT or not, one thing is already certain: his life has changed forever. He is no longer a street singer surviving day by day. He is an artist with a story that will inspire generations. He proved that dreams don't belong to the privileged, they belong to the brave. And so, the journey of a young Filipino street singer became one of the most unforgettable moments in AGT history. A moment where talent met destiny. A moment where Simon Cowell, the toughest judge in the world, couldn't hold back and hit the golden buzzer with absolute certainty. From the streets of Manila to the grand stage of America's Got Talent, Adrian's voice carried him to a future brighter than he ever imagined. And this is only the beginning.